When the world is just too much, turn it off and turn on positive, encouraging K-Love.
I'm gonna praise.
World off. K-Love on.
K-Love is sunshine for my soul.
I love K-Love.
Listen now on your radio, online, or on the free K-Love app.
K-Love makes me feel so good.
Positive, encouraging K-Love.
One of these men is a highly respected New York attorney, Lucas A. Ferrara. The other is a self-proclaimed man of the people, known as Mert Roberts. Their aim is to discuss the hottest issues impacting our city, state, and nation. Fasten your seatbelts. Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live, starts now on AM 970, The Answer.
Hey, what's the name of that one, Alex?
All right, this is called Time Rolls On by Alana Jordan.
Ah, the passage of time. An
like
enemy.
53 years and the Knicks finally wins.
Passage of time is an enemy to us all. But that leads us to this next segment where we're going to dive into one of the most explosive, unavoidable debates in American politics. Ready for this, Mert? Age limits for politicians. Not term limits, not campaign finance reform, not gerrymandering. No, we're talking about the question that has turned Thanksgiving dinners into hostage situations. How old is too old to run the country? Now, before you answer, Mert, because whether you're left, right, center, or floating somewhere above the political map like a balloon that slipped out of a kid's hand, you probably had this thought. Should the people running the government be old enough to remember when rotary phones were cutting-edge technology? We're going to be looking at the data, the science, the polling, the constitutional arguments, the public votes, and the cultural moments that brought us here. And trust me, this is one of the topics where everyone thinks they're right, particularly Mert. Mert, how old is too old, bud?
Well, I mean, you might be getting close. I'm just messing with you. I'm not going to do this.
Oh, my goodness.
You might got 1 or 2 years before you'd be able to run if we're going to go by my policy. But
I'm in my prime. I'm in my political prime, according to the stats.
But I'm going to say this. I don't feel like there should be an age limit because every region has its own needs. Certain areas need a veteran, somebody who knows where all the skeletons are buried. You can't just give that information to a younger person. They have to actually have lived it to experience it. And then certain places, they got AI incorporated into society at a heavy level. And somebody like you might be terrified of that. So you got to consider that age limits, they work in theory, but in reality, when there's more nuanced things that are going on in society, like how do you deal with people, things that you have seen in the past that you might not be paying attention to, but that rear their ugly head, and somebody who's older would know how to deal with this. Because you can't just rely on youthfulness and say, oh, you went to Harvard or you're highly educated and that's enough. No, somebody who's been around the block a couple times, such as yourself, is an invaluable thing because there's a gift in being relevant as you get older. A lot of people fall into irrelevance as they get older, but that's being able to be relevant and get elected as you get older, that is a skill within itself. So if you're 100 years old and you're able to get elected, that means you're able to connect with everybody who's voting for you and win that election. Well, I'm not going to say everybody because there'll be people who vote against you, but you were able to connect with the majority of people and get elected. So trying to limit based on age, I don't think that's a wise thing to do because
you know what, Mert, according to the Congressional Research Service, the average age in Congress, believe it or not, House of Representatives, 57.9, almost 58, in other words. United States Senate, 65.3. So that makes the Senate older than the average American retiree.
And you know what?
Meanwhile, the median age of Americans is 38, Mert. That's
Well, I'll say this.
The Census
I'll
Bureau.
say this.
So people making the laws, let me just finish the point. People making the laws are on average nearly 30 years older than the people living under them. And the presidency, just to close this out, the last 3 elections, the winning candidates were 2016, Donald Trump, who was 70 at inauguration, 2020, Joe Biden, who was 78 at inauguration, and 2024, Donald Trump, 78. So for context, the average age of presidents at inauguration from George Washington through Obama was 55. So we're not just above the historical norm. We're getting into the stratosphere. And 79% of Americans, by the way, support age limits for elected officials. That's not a partisan number. That's a national consensus, Mert. 79%. Republicans, Democrats, Independents. Everyone agrees on this one except you. And here's the kicker. 66% said there should be a maximum age for the presidency. That's not a small majority. That's a landslide, Bert. So
it's a bunch of nonsense.
You don't know what you're talking about.
It's a bunch of nonsense. It's a bunch of nonsense because you just said the average age of the population is 38.
Right.
So that means that these people don't relate to somebody in their 50s and 60s. You know, to somebody 38, 55 seems a long ways away. But that's not the case. And when you get up to 55 and you still feel like, man, I don't feel 55. I still feel kind of good. I still feel like I can contribute. I don't need to just run off into the corner and die and become irrelevant.
But you're in the minority, Mert, because
I'm not in the minority.
79% of Americans support age limits, Mert. So
listen,
you can
somebody has to lead the way.
How are you going to talk yourself
Somebody
out of
has to lead the Somebody has to lead the way. Everybody can't see what I know to be true. What I know to be true is I'm pretty sure if you would have asked Donald Trump or Biden when they were younger, should there be an age limit, they would have said yes. But guess what? When you get up there in age and you still have ambition and you still feel like, hey, this isn't a death sentence, this is just the beginning, and you decide to go run for office, you should be able to do that in America. I am totally against people trying to put an age limit on ambition, because that's what you're doing. It's not about the political office. It's about putting an age limit on
but
ambition.
How old is too old? That's the question. Alex, come
It
on,
ain't
thoughts
too
about
old.
it.
Well, firstly, today is Donald Trump's 80th
Because
birthday.
Mert's fumpering. Mert's fumpering. Go
Firstly,
ahead, Alex.
today's Trump's 80th birthday. I just want to throw that out there.
Look at
Secondly,
him.
Mitch
Still
McConnell falling
kicking.
today at 84 and hospitalized or whatever hospitalization he's got after, numerous falls. Look, I think there should be term limits.
Not term limits. We're talking age limits now. Age.
Nonsense.
There should be age limits. I mean, look, after a certain point, they should. It's almost like taking away the car keys, right? You gotta have to take away the car keys at some point.
Amen. Look, you know what, Mert? Look at the facts. According to the National Institute on Aging, right, processing speed begins to decline in the 30s. Okay, Mert? Memory recall declines in the 40s and 50s, and the risk of dementia doubles every 5 years after age 65. Okay? 1 in 9 Americans over 65 has Alzheimer's disease, Mert, and the CDC notes that mild cognitive impairment affects 12 to 18% of people over 60. Now, does that mean every older politician is impaired? Absolutely not.
According to you, that's what
does
it
mean? But does
That's
it
what
mean,
you're making it seem like.
But does the risk increase with age? Absolutely. And I think the best example, the elephant in the room, was Biden. It was clear, and we've talked about this multiple times before, he was suffering from cognitive decline. Cognitive decline. He should have been aged out. That should have been prevented.
Well,
and
hold on
you know
a
what?
second.
I don't trust these White House doctors, these medical doctors who say Trump is in great shape. The guy eats fast food and is overweight. I don't believe Trump is in great shape. And I certainly don't believe Biden was in great shape or fits to serve, despite all the medical doctors that came out and testified or spoke for him. It's nonsense. At a certain point, they should be forced or not permitted.
What you're saying?
Oh, Biden
What
was
you-
forced out if you think about it.
Yeah, but it's
Listen.
certainly embarrassing and humiliating kind of way. Yeah.
What you're saying is dangerous because this is America. You shouldn't be restricted just because your demographic has some, they're more likely
come
to
on.
experience dementia. No,
America-
I don't have dementia.
America
Listen,
is
I'm
full of
75.
restrictions.
I'm 75. I don't have dementia. Don't try to tell me what some other 75-year-old who can't cut it has. I'm not representing 75-year-olds. I'm representing the people who elected me. So
America
you need
is
to deal with
full
that.
of restrictions. America is full of restrictions and age
Not like
restrictions.
this. Not like
Yes,
this.
yes,
No,
absolutely.
No.
Look,
Where's
do
another
you know?
one?
Do you have to be 25 years of age to be a member of the House, 30 years of age for the Senate, and
That's a
35
floor.
years.
That's not a ceiling. That's
but
a floor, not a
no,
ceiling.
but that's a floor. So we need a ceiling as well. There's no maximum age. You know why?
Give me a ceiling.
No, let me tell you why. In 1787, the average life expectancy was 38. So when the founding fathers were around, Mert, they didn't live in their 40s, 50s, and
So
60s.
imagine if they would have said the age to be president, you can't be older than 38. Imagine if they would have said that. They look crazy right now. You know we're living longer with all this technology.
That's right.
You're
they
one of these
never-
health nuts.
But they have never imagined 80-year-old senators or presidents.
Look,
they weren't
you're one of
imagining that.
I hear you.
Okay.
I hear you. You're one of these health freaks. You like to eat celery and stuff for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you might live to 120. You trying to tell me you got to spend 30 more years of being irrelevant just because you decided to take advantage of technology and improvements in health? And now you're able to do things that weren't possible in the past, but now that we have technology are possible, you cannot put a ceiling on human ingenuity and human innovation because people are living longer. You just said it. It was 38. Now it's who knows what it is. But it was 38 at one point, and if we would have put the cutoff then, we'd look silly now because we'd have a bunch of 50, 60, and 70-year-old people being governed by people in their 20s, and that wouldn't make any sense.
I don't know. What do you think, Alex? I don't know.
Well, I think what Mert's saying is if you're 85 to 90 years old, you can run for president, and I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think. I think Biden is the best example. That was an utter embarrassment. And interestingly enough, other democracies also have no maximum age. So France, none. UK, none. Canada, none. Japan, none. India, none. But some countries do have limits for judges, civil servants, or military leaders. For example, Brazil, mandatory retirement for judges at 75. South Korea, mandatory retirement for civil servants at 60. So the U.S. isn't alone. But I think there needs to be some thought put into whether or not there should be an age limitation.
You think there should be some thought.
Yeah,
That's
now, you know what?
nonsense.
And 79% of Americans support it. So, Mert, you're laughing, but you're in the minority on this. And 66%, as I said, support a maximum age for the presidency. And
Oh, really?
70
You say they support it, but guess what they keep doing? They keep electing people
You know
in
what?
that
And
age bracket.
74% support age limits for Supreme Court justices too. I think they're getting too old. The Supremes are getting too old too. Now,
Well, deal with what I just said. They keep electing the people that you just said they don't agree with being that age and being in those positions. So why are the people continuing to elect? You know how many young people put on that red hat that says "Make America Great Again"? Because they supported Donald Trump, because a lot of young people could relate to Donald Trump. So, Alex, you're a huge Trump supporter. Are you telling me he shouldn't have been able to run for president? Or are you going to say there should be an exception made because he was with it and we actually could relate to him? No, you supported him and you didn't even consider his age. You probably didn't even know how old he was when you voted for him.
but
now
the
you
question
wanna
was, should there be, given what
No.
we saw with Biden?
Exactly. The Biden presidency changed everything. That's what
That's
I'm
right. That's correct.
No, don't try to do that because you shouldn't have voted for Donald Trump then. You should have voted for Kamala, the way younger candidate.
Kamala, no comment. Okay, that was not a
Yeah.
choice.
No,
not
it was a choice.
Mert.
She's younger.
Put
She's younger.
age aside. She was not a choice in my humble opinion. No, sorry.
Well, she's younger.
That's
And
not
y'all still
that's
and
not
y'all
the sole
still
criteria,
wait a minute.
of course.
Y'all still let Donald Trump win the primary to become the challenger for president. Y'all could have selected somebody younger, but you didn't do that. So I don't want to hear what Alex just tried to push past
you know
me.
what? As a compromise, there should be some form of cognitive testing done by some sort of independent board.
I agree with that.
And if Trump passes the cognitive testing by an independent board, not the White House physician, not a Republican physician, an independent board made up of people from all parties and whatever, and if they say he's okay, then he's okay. So maybe we shouldn't have a maximum age, but there needs to be some controls here, because what happened with Biden was a total embarrassment. He was walking left, he was walking right, he was walking all these wrong directions. He didn't know where he was on the stage. He was blanking out. It was not good for
More
the country.
concerning is how the senators keep getting elected, and they're
also the senators.
That's really concerning to me.
Yeah, Dianne Feinstein, all these people that should have retired many years ago, they can barely walk, they can barely talk. It's not good for our democracy, Mert. Not
because
good.
They are still with it. They still know how to hold that grip. They still know how to wield that power. So you cannot.
That's because they have a party behind them, Mert. Not necessarily. Look, it's like
it's not a party of 80-year-olds. It's a party of young Democrats as well as middle-aged and as well as older Democrats. So all these parties,
Alexandria Cortez and the squad, all of them are objecting to the older generation. Look, like Schumer, they've got they're out for him, right? They're dissatisfied. They're saying he's too old. He doesn't represent the people or the Democratic Party. He's the old world. So look, they're bashing him.
That's a marketing campaign. I'm not buying that because they probably have people who they love and support, who they still get counseling and guidance from, who are in that age bracket. So they wouldn't say that as an indictment on anybody in that age bracket. They're just pointing at this one individual who they're trying to uproot and take his position in leadership in the Democratic Party.
Like Bernie Sanders is older too, but you don't hear people about saying he should be out.
Absolutely. That's a good point you just brought up. I see a lot of people still support Bernie Sanders. They were upset that he wasn't able to run instead of Kamala Harris. So that is an excellent point you just brought up, Alex. You're very smart for saying that.
Bernie Sanders, give me a break. I think most people are of the view, according to the surveys, that politicians should be 75, up to 75. That's the maximum age that polling suggests Americans are okay with. So it's
stop voting for old people.
Look, cognitive decline is an ugly reality of aging, Mert. I'm getting older. I see it. I see it in my friends. I have a conversation with a dear friend of mine. He tells me the same story every time I see him, or the same joke every time I see him. He doesn't remember that he's told me this joke about 1,000 times before, and you've seen it too. At some point, people have to step back, and I think that this has to be considered. And look, it's not about disrespecting older people. It's about and it's not about idolizing youth either. It's about capacity, representation, and trust. It's about whether people making decisions for the next 50 years should be around for when, see the repercussions of those decisions. It's about government truly reflecting the country it serves. And while you reflect on that, let me remind you that you're listening to episode 101 of Shake It Off with Merton Lucas Live. This is Lucas Ferrara with me in the studio at AM 970, which is, by the way, in the heart of the financial district in downtown Manhattan. It's my co-host, Mert Roberts, affectionately known as the Mertonator. Working the board, none other than Alex Garrett. He's got a 5-star rated podcast, One Leg Up with Alex Garrett. Please check it out. How you doing, Alex? You got like over 50,000.
We just hit over 60,000 downloads now, on our way to 75 grand.
Help Alex get to 70,000 and beyond. And of course, let's not forget, in Master Control, Hermine Santos. Thank you, Hermine. When we come back, we'll be joined by Ella Thier. She's a filmmaker, teacher, and author of How to Fail. Her smart, funny, and disarmingly honest book about turning life's missteps into creative fuel is one to be read. She's built a career on reframing the moments we label as disasters She's here to remind us that failure isn't the end of the story. It's part of the story that makes the story worth telling. Me, Mert, Alex, and all of us at AM 970 will return after these quick messages. Don't go anywhere. After the break, Thier is here to discuss her latest book, because if failure were an Olympic sport, most of us would already be medalists.
I would never fade, but the years got sharp and the dues got paid. Still hear the echoes of the nights we burned. Every lesson's one more page we've turned. Time rolls on like a runaway train, carving lines on a weathered face.
We love bringing you products that improve your life. Well, this product can save your life, or the life of those we cherish the most, our youngest children. There are approximately 5,000 choking deaths in the U.S. each year. One child dies every 5 days from choking. Children under the age of 5 are most at risk. There is a solution. It's called LifeVac. Arthur Lee is the founder, CEO, and inventor of LifeVac. LifeVac is a simple rescue device that can change your child's life in a choking emergency. It's non-invasive and easy to use, and one kit fits the whole family. If you have a young child in your family, I strongly recommend you visit the LifeVac website. That's LifeVac.net. Listen to Arthur's compelling story and view the videos demonstrating its ease of use. LifeVac works in 3 simple steps: place, push, and pull. The LifeVac device dislodges the obstruction and suctions out the food or object. It's that simple. LifeVac.net, made in the USA and FDA registered.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 55 East 59th Street, New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
It's time to celebrate America. Join us for Patriots, Pasta, and Piscopo, an exclusive event in Times Square featuring Joe Piscopo as we honor the nation's 250th birthday through the legendary sounds of Frank Sinatra.
Start spreading the news.
It's an evening filled with classic hits, live entertainment, and a patriotic atmosphere at New York City's iconic Carmine's Italian Restaurant in the Sinatra Room. AM 970's own Joe Piscopo delivers energy and nostalgia like no other. Tickets are moving quickly. Get your tickets now for Patriots, Pasta, and Piscopo. It's happening Wednesday, June 24th at 6 p.m. Seating is limited. Portions of the proceeds will support the Equal First Aid charity, courtesy of LifeVac. Text CELEBRATE to 94878 or go to am970theanswer.com and click the banner for tickets. That's am970theanswer.com.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
What is the name of that one, Alex?
Moving Toward Success by Crab Audio, which is funny because crabs move slow, but I'm sure we're going to talk about a fast-paced approach to moving forward.
Perfect choice given our next guest. Thier is a filmmaker, screenwriting teacher, and author whose latest book, How to Fail, turns the idea of failure on its head. Born in Israel and based in New York, Thier built her career outside the Hollywood machine, writing and directing award-winning independent films, including Foreign Letters and Tomorrow Ever After. She's also the founder of the Independent Film School, where she's trained thousands of writers and creators to develop their voice without waiting for permission. In How to Fail, Thier blends humor, psychology, and hard-won experience to show how our missteps can become creative fuel rather than personal verdicts. Her work champions resilience, self-expression, and the radical idea that failure is not a flaw. It's a feature of a life fully lived. Welcome to the program, Ella.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
It's great to have you on the program. Now, your book, How to Fail, what made you decide to write a book celebrating the thing that most of us try to avoid or hide?
Yeah, I guess I should explain. My thesis is that failure doesn't actually exist. You know, it's a perspective, and if you do things that matter to you with people you enjoy working with, then you are a success. But what made me decide it? The book just showed up. It just started to write itself. I did not set out to write a book. It surprised me.
Was there a specific failure in your own life that flipped the switch and made you rethink the concept, or anything you could point your finger to?
Oh, you know, as an artist, the roller coaster is all 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. So the feeling of failure is something that comes and goes with you day to day, and generally unrelated to what happens circumstantially. Like, you can get a big award and feel like a failure because someone else got 2 awards. Or you can make a really pretty birthday card for your sister and feel like a big success because you love making that birthday card. So, there are many, many failures I could talk about, and I share them in the book, but I wouldn't say there's like one in particular. Yeah.
Well, you've worked as a filmmaker, teacher, a writer. Which field delivers the most spectacular failures in your view?
Oh, gosh. I mean, what doesn't? And again, it's about the feeling of failure. As a writer, if you're hoping someone will, take on a project and they don't. As a filmmaker, you're hoping to get into such and such festival or whatever, and it doesn't. I mean, there never, and if you're looking for evidence that you have failed, you will always find it. You can find it in relationships. It's not a particularly useful use of time, put it that way.
Well, Ella, look, I'm sort of envious because I always wanted to go into the creative world, but I sold out and went into law instead. But one of the things that was an issue for me, and maybe you could chime in on this, was rejection. Constantly being rejected for roles. And you just touched on it, film festivals or writing a script and the script not getting picked up or turned into a film. It's the ability to rise above these rejections, which is easier said than done, no?
Yeah, I mean, okay, first of all, let's just say that really great lawyers are very creative at what they do, because creativity can, come with us anywhere.
Well, bless you, Ella. I love that. But let's stick to the arts. It's
true. It's true that if you organize your life professionally or in some full-time manner around a creative field, the arts, you're looking at a lifetime of past letters or being ignored or dismissed, or if you succeed, then you become a target of ridicule and criticism. I mean, it's crazy. There's an entire profession centered around just criticizing artwork. They're called art critics. And, you could spend 15 years pouring blood and sweat over your work, and then a critic will spend 90 minutes watching it and trash it publicly, and we've normalized that.
Yeah, and what about film critics? What about theater critics more closer to home? I mean, it's the same phenomenon, no, Ella?
Across the field. I was just laughing, the Michael Jackson movie has something like 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, the critics just trashed it. Well, it has become the highest-grossing musical of all time. It's 2 months in, and it's still in theaters and packed houses. So the critics need a hug.
Well, wait a minute. What about?
Watch for the Murdinator, Ella. It's the Murdinator.
What about like Simon Cowell though? Because he's become famous for just telling you can't sing, you don't have the look, you're not going to make it. And he's become very popular. Don't you feel like people love to, put you in your place? Because, just be honest, everybody can paint a picture, but it's only going to be a couple Michelangelos if so you got to have some perspective on what your ability is. Is that correct, or am I off in trying to throw cold water on somebody's dreams by saying, you know what, you might not be the guy for this. You might need to do something else.
I think that if you love what you create, you have to believe in it and you have to stand by it. And you will be criticized. And frankly, the more successful you become, the bigger a target you become. You have to just know that you will be criticized, and you have to trust your own. You have to trust your own thinking about your work is one thing. You get to choose who your allies are, who you want real feedback from. And I would say when it comes to artwork, you kind of have to, it's your baby. You have to love it unconditionally. You do.
Is there any...
It doesn't mean that everything you create is going to be brilliant and you should share with the world, but everything you create came from you, and therefore it's
hold it right there, though. Hold it right there.
Something. Yeah.
What is an example of, you don't have to tell me exactly what it is, but are there things out there that you created that you're like, I don't care how confident I am in my ability, nobody's going to see this because this is just horrible. Do you ever have stuff you feel that way about?
Absolutely. I mean, all the films I made in film school, I've never shared those, and
you're
I
your
don't know
own
that
worst
I ever
critic.
will. It would be, yeah, you have to start somewhere. That's the other thing with artwork, is that people think that if you're born with it, you're just going to be amazing from day one. And the truth is, with artwork, like anything else in life, the more you do it, the better you get at it. You got to start somewhere. So this is why you have to love your work unconditionally, like it's your baby. Just love it and keep going, and you'll get better and better and better.
So what was the person, or who was the person that gave you that spark that said, you know what, you really are talented? Because a lot of people feel that they are, but usually there's somebody who pushes you, that makes you continue. Is there anybody in your life who's done that for you?
Oh my goodness.
Not everybody now. The main person. I don't want everybody, because you say, "Oh, my friends."
Yeah.
The one who meant the most.
I'd have to go with my mom. Yeah, she's always been my biggest fan.
There you go.
I'd have to go with Mom. Mm-hmm.
There you go. Parental support.
Yeah.
Key. That's why Mert's dysfunctional, but that's a different story. Now, you, in the book, you talk about the stories we tell ourselves after we mess up. Why are those stories often worse than the failure itself?
Well, I keep going back. The whole concept of success and failure is an illusion, because it comes down to your perspective of what's going on. You can feel successful, you can feel like a failure. Okay, go back to what your question was. Remind me of the question.
Sure. In your book, you talk about the stories we tell ourselves after we mess up. Why are those stories worse than the failure itself?
The stories we tell ourselves.
I guess it's denials in some respects.
Well, I mean, what happened in the book is that as I wrote it, I found myself so self-doubting that I decided to give that voice airtime, and it was embodied in a character who I called Mr. Stop, who's I described as a sock puppet that lives in my head. And anytime I try to do something creative, Mr. Stop will give me reasons not to do it. And so as I wrote the book, Mr. Stop would chime in and be like, wow, you took too long to write that. That's too verbose. That's too short. That doesn't have meat on it. No one's going to read this. This is garbage. This is self-involved. This is repetitive. There's no end to what Mr. Stop will say. And I stripped it of its power by actually letting it speak rather than trying to repress it. And so the book became kind of like, it's a memoir, kind of a pep talk for artists, but it's also ended up being about the process of what it's like to write a book. so that all that noise in my head of keep going, this is awful, all that stuff is in plain view. It's on the page, so you can see what it was actually like to write a book.
So does Mr. Sock represent self-doubt, Ella? What is Mr. Sock?
Mr. Stop. Mr. Stop. S-T-O-P, yes. Mr. Stop.
Oh, Mr.
is
Stop.
like,
I'm sorry. I misheard you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I described it as a sock puppet. It's the inner critic is another way to describe it. That's just the name I gave mine.
Inner critic. But can't the inner critic sometimes refine? Writers rewrite drafts 25,000 times, and come out with the perfect book. No one writer, first draft. It's that self-analysis. But we're running out of time. You're gonna come back, Ella, right after this commercial break. Have no fear. Ella Thier will be rejoining us. For more about Ella and her work, visit theindependentfilmschool.com, and you'll find her book, How to Fail, on Amazon, wherever books are sold. We'll have links on our website. Don't go away. Mert, Alex, and I certainly hope you stay tuned. Ella Thier is back after the break. Filmmaker, teacher, and the woman reminding every creative out there that your talent didn't evaporate. You just forgot where you put it. More from her in a moment.
The last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 55 East 59th Street, New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
It's time to celebrate America. Join us for Patriots Pasta and Piscopo, an exclusive event at Times Square featuring Joe Piscopo, as we honor the nation's 250th birthday through the legendary sounds of Frank Sinatra. It's an evening filled with classic hits, live entertainment, and a patriotic atmosphere at New York City's iconic Carmine's Italian Restaurant in the Sinatra Room. AM 970's own Joe Piscopo delivers energy and nostalgia like no other. Tickets are moving quickly. Get your tickets now for Patriots Pasta and Piscopo. It's happening Wednesday, June 24th at 6 p.m. Seating is limited. Portions of the proceeds will support the Equal First Aid charity, courtesy of LifeVac. Text CELEBRATE to 94878 or go to am970theanswer.com and click the banner for tickets. That's am970theanswer.com.
MyPillow and MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $17.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 and the 6-pack towel set for only $39.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code JOEP or call 800-651-0798. These offers won't last long, so call 800-651-0798 or go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code JOEP. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code JOEP or call 800-651-0798. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
We are back, and so is a voice every artist needs to hear. Ella Thier, the filmmaker, teacher, and author, whose book, How to Fail, has become a lifeline for creatives who are tired of perfectionism, paralysis, and the myth that success looks the same for everyone. She's built a career on honesty, craft, and creative rebellion, and today she's here to walk us through why failure isn't a verdict, it's fuel. For more info about Ella and her work, visit theindependentfilmschool.com, theindependentfilmschool.com, and you can find her book, How to Fail, on Amazon or wherever books are sold. We'll have the links posted on our website, shakeitofflive.com. Now, Ella, the Mertonator has a question for you.
Yes.
Well, I'm very interested because when we talk about failure, that can be in the eye of the beholder. So, in a way, what I'm curious to think about is, does failure exist to you, or is it all like a learning experience?
If you're enjoying what you do, failure or success are completely irrelevant concepts. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine was playing basketball with her 4-year-old daughter, and her 4-year-old daughter just loved trying to get those baskets and shoot them in. She would shoot a basket, and he would go in the basket, and she would cheer, and she would say, "I got it in!" And then she would shoot the basket, and it wouldn't go in. And with the same exact tone and joy, she would say, "I didn't get it in!" And she'd do it again. She had so much fun shooting those baskets. It was irrelevant whether the ball actually went in or not. And that is a role model.
Ella, that's not good if we playing bad. I'm into sports. You sound like you might not be a sports person, but if you're on my team and you're missing shots and you're cheering, that's no good. We can't have that. See, sports is not art, so we need to make that basket go in. So that's different. Wouldn't you agree? Like, you can understand, a kid having fun, that's one thing, right? But
how do you get good at shooting baskets? How do you get good at getting them in if there's no permission to enjoy throwing the ball in? And
Amen.
how do you get there?
Man, see,
she got you there, Mert.
I hear that all the time, and it's all, well, let my kid go out there and just have fun, and he's stinking up the court and just ruining the team, and we can't win because your kid's out there just having fun. I know this is harsh, but I want you to just put me in my place, because this is how a lot of people feel. It's like, if you're not carrying your weight, man,
Here, I'm gonna interject here with a very famous Michael Jordan quote. Okay, he said, I'm reading it off. I'm not paraphrasing. He said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot, and I missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." That's Michael Jordan.
Wow. How do you respond to that, Mr. Mertonator?
Because Michael Jordan can make me miss shots. I can't necessarily make Michael Jordan miss shots because he's better at me than basketball. So he can say, hey, I can miss shots and be okay with it because he can make me miss shots. But if you miss shots and you can't stop me from scoring, then I can look at you and say, you can't take any more shots because you're not as good as I am. But now you're bringing out the competitive nature. And I know that's not what this is the spirit of this conversation. But I just think it's a lot of people out there feel that way. They like to get real competitive, even with the arts. Do you not?
Yeah, but Ella's point, Mert, is don't.
Whoa! Let Ella say.
Don't lose the joy. That was the point about the young kid. Yes, she may not play basketball as good as you do, Mert, but she had the joy for the sport and she enjoyed the attempts. And I think that's the essence. No, Ella.
Listen, I'm not going to convince you of anything. Like, all I can do is invite you to consider finding the joy in what you do. And I think that we've all been contorted into competing, whether it's sports or arts. I mean, artists are, have been made very, very competitive. And what I'm trying to say, and what I say in that book, is it saps the joy out of it. It saps the joy out when it's all about who's better, who's worse. And then, you're only as good as your last success. It's not, and it doesn't lead you to your best work, and it doesn't lead you to become a good basketball player.
Now, let me ask you this.
If it's just grind, if you enjoy the work and you enjoy the process, you invariably get better and better without even trying to, because you keep doing it.
So can I ask you a
what I'm
question?
offering here is an invitation. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. If you make a film and it does tremendously well, it becomes a box office hit, and you hate it, is that still a great work of art, or do you need to, like, how do you process that? Because at a certain level, I'm interested, do you feel like validation from other people is something that you should actually seek, or
No.
should you not seek it?
If I make a film I'm not proud of, and I don't think it's good, and it receives it becomes a big success, no, I don't see it as a big success. It'll open some doors, and so it'll give me some advantages. But I'll tell you, from my real life, I've made a feature film with like no money at all that I so love and I so respect, and that to me is a successful film. I've also been wrote a film that had like a few $1 million in the budget and premiered at a major festival, and I don't think it's a great film. And I'll be honest, I did it for the paycheck. Somebody paid me to write it, and they turned it, I saw it, into not a particularly good film. So on paper, that's a more successful film, and I don't think it is. I don't. So yeah, I'm ultimately the judge of my work. I have to be to stay in the game. I have to be.
Look, what's one failure you're now grateful for, even though it may have felt awful at the time?
Oh my goodness! I mean, where do I start? I think that the many years of knocking on doors and not getting through were all blessings in disguise, because it forced me to produce my own work and become resourceful and learn how to produce. And if I had been, quote unquote, lucky and gotten through some door or whatever, I would have been stuck being a work for hire, where I write, maybe direct, things that people pay me to do that I might not have particularly cared about. And so the fact that I didn't get through doors and I had to learn how to produce and create my own work, I now wouldn't have it any other way. Like, now that I know how to produce, I would not hand it over and just, no. So I'm happy about it.
It made you self-sufficient and stronger. Is that the point?
It made me the artist that I am, yeah. And, hey, I would not turn down a break. I'm still knocking on doors and trying to, it's especially in film, gathering the resources that it takes to make a film. It's inordinate amounts of effort, and I'm not saying I would be upset if a break came my way, but I'm going to keep doing my work regardless, is the point.
Amen. And now, if listeners, we're running out of time, unfortunately, Ella. If listeners take away only one idea from your book, How to Fail, what do you want that message to be?
So just to clarify, the full title of the book is How to Fail as an Artist, My Best Tips.
Okay.
And if you take one message, is that to look for what you enjoy doing. If you're doing something that you enjoy, that's meaningful to you, with people you enjoy, you are a successful artist. There's nothing, you don't need to wait for any accolades or any big check or any big award. If you enjoy the work, you are a successful artist.
Unfortunately, Ella, we have run out of time. For more about Ella and her work, visit theindependentfilmschool.com. Is there any other website, Ella, or is that the good one?
That's it. Everything's on there. theindependentfilmschool.com. Yeah.
And you'll find her book, How to Fail as an Artist, on Amazon or wherever books are sold. And we'll have the links on our website, shakeitofflive.com. Thanks so much for coming on the program, Ella. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Great talking to you.
Have a wonderful night. Well, my friends, that concludes show number 101. 101. May I hear an amen? Amen. Special thanks to the Murdinator, Mert Roberts, my co-host. 101 amazing episodes, 202 hours of live entertainment. Would you believe it? And if you think that's easy, you try it. And to Alex Garrett, thank you. Couldn't have done the podcast, couldn't have done the show without you. Check out his 5-star rated podcast, One Leg Up with Alex Garrett. And to everyone behind the scenes at AM 970 Radio, Laura Schaefer, Matthew Samblin, Joe Sabia, Frank Volpe, Ryan Pagano, Cara Fusaro. Oh, and we can't forget Ermine Sinta,
Slow it down,
Santos.
brother. Slow
Santos, there you go, in Master Control. Our sincerest thanks. Before we go, I'd like to remind everyone to check out my movies. They're streaming everywhere. My latest hit, Manor of Darkness. It's an eerie time loop horror. You'll find it on Amazon, Google Play, and YouTube. Last month, New York Times selected Manor of Darkness as one of the top 5 movies you should stream. So, what are you waiting for? Check out my movies. And if you're listening to us live, stay tuned for Culinary Confidential coming up next I Love Her program. Join us next week. We'll have more controversial topics, more special guests just for you. Same time, same place. Ciao, ciao.
The preceding program is sponsored by Shake It Off Live, LLC.
When the world is just too much, turn it off and turn on positive, encouraging K-Love.
I'm gonna praise.
World off. K-Love on.
K-Love is sunshine for my soul.
I love K-Love.
Listen now on your radio, online, or on the free K-Love app.
K-Love makes me feel so good.
Positive